Halo Season 2 Episode 3 is out, and I'll start off with my praise, which is there was some decent character stuff for Ackerson, and the rest of the show is dog shit. I go into reasons why the story doesn't stand on its own, and how they don't understand the lore. It's clearly pushing culture war nonsense. It seems to me like it was another show they just slapped the title Halo on, and then swapped some names and places, because it wants to be some kind of covert ops, Mission Impossible style show. The world building makes no sense. It's extremely frustrating to watch. John's character is so all over the place, along with the rest of the Spartans really, that it seems like they sat down and were like, oh, well, we need this plot point to happen. Make him behave this way. That's how all the Spartans act, and all the characters. The blind Spartan that we got in episode 2, which I don't think makes any sense, is now also gay. So they managed to fit in a fat, gay, blind Spartan, obviously irrelevant to the lore. And for the show, the one scene they put in also was irrelevant. They just put it in clearly to hit whatever check boxes. It's the same garbage as last season. Quan still sucks, is getting a ton of screen time. Soren got captured. He's on the verge of being replaced by his wife and Quan. It's just nonsense. The stuff that is interesting with Ackerson, they actually undermine because they think that he's so evil that they can't frame it another way where he's a morally gray character. Everything this show has done has been a store brand version of Halo and the lore. Anything that was interesting in the show, they've spun it to make it less interesting. That includes everything. The only thing that this show has done maybe better than the lore is one scene with Ackerson in this show. It gives him a little bit more background and character to make him interesting. But everything else, it completely undercuts or is a knockoff version. What we're essentially watching is that the people who created the show at Paramount took off the Master Chief's helmet, cut off his face, and then put another face on and wore it like a skinwalker. Everything this show does is a lesser version of the original lore. So let's get into this specific episode. We pick up where we left off. John is leading Silver Team, the lesser version of Blue Team, to go look for Cobalt. He admits to them that he's been lying. This other group shows up to bring John in and arrest him, and all of the Spartans immediately turn their back on John. So again, the pellets come up because they've taken away all agency, and the idea of the Spartans being brainwashed but going against their brainwashing is much more interesting than them taking a pellet out and just being crazy people. The show doesn't even really do the pellets justice, because having the pellets in doesn't undo all the time and the battles and experiences the Spartans went through. So even if the pellets make them unstable or whatever, they should still be highly loyal to each other because of everything they've been through, and the show doesn't even manage that much. So right here, John agrees to essentially get arrested, which is really stupid because of how he behaves later. And he's being told that Cobalt Team is on a different mission. He's being made to look crazy. And we all know that he's right as the audience. And as soon as everyone in the show thinks he's wrong, the Spartans flip on a dime. It's crazy. And like, yeah, you shouldn't be blindly loyal, but there's still a human element there that they just skipped over. They want to do this thing where the Spartans going kind of rogue is a human element and they're making their own decisions now. But they didn't earn that. We haven't seen the Spartans follow tough orders or make tough decisions or anything along the way. So all we've seen is them be a shitty version of Spartans, take a pellet out, and then just do whatever they want. Also, it's so annoying to me that they let Silver Team steal a condor, fly it around the planet, and they tracked them down. But at no point did they keep an eye on the Spartans. They're letting the Spartans wander wherever they want. But the Spartans didn't go beat up a bunch of people and then steal a condor. They walked in and took it. So the world building has been an absolute fucking abortion for both seasons. On top of them just undoing everything else that they did last season, but only kind of. Because they're actually committed to it, they just don't want to come out and say it. And this scene is probably the best scene with Ackerson. I actually like this actor, even though I haven't seen him before. But what they're trying to do here is make him like morally gray. They want you to sympathize with him. It's a decent scene. It's also kind of cheating. So this is Ackerson's dad. They make him senile. His sister's dead, which we're going to find out in a later episode was the clone that he was sending in to Halsey. So how he knows all that, I don't know. All of the Spartan stuff was super secret. And the fact that his dad helped build Reach and his little sister was one of the Spartans that Halsey stole could have been interesting if that had been why he joined the military. And he was kind of a conspiracy theorist, but he's not. He's like the most hard-ass military guy by the book, Oni. It would have been way more interesting if we had gotten some backstory from him that was like, maybe he was a terrorist or like considering joining a terrorist group. And then he was like, I'll infiltrate Oni to find out what really happened to my sister because the Flash clone that died wasn't actually her. And that's actually similar to the Kilo 5 trilogy by Karen Travis, in the Halo books. In the books, I like how it's done. A lot of fans seem to hate it. But instead, it's just kind of a cheap tug on the heartstrings that we get here. And what makes it even more frustrating is it comes up later in the episode that Ackerson is also making sacrifices. But he's supposed to be framed as so evil that you don't really care. So his dad's senile, he keeps forgetting stuff. His sister's dead. It's a decent scene, it's well acted. It's just frustrating that it doesn't go beyond this surface level stuff. And the dad does have a good line in here where he realizes what's going on with Ackerson and that the Covenant is coming. And he says, don't let them take me alive. So that's a good setup for how scary the Covenant is. It's like we found a penny in our pile of dog shit, for what it's worth. Keyes dresses down John, bitches to him about breaking the chain of command. All the Spartans are pissed at John. This is the kind of stuff where I'm saying that the characters are just whatever we need them to be at that moment. They don't have a consistent through line. Keyes is going off on them about following the chain of command. John has been a disrespectful asshole the entire show. The Spartans in general have kind of just done whatever they wanted. No one was keeping an eye on them. Their armor wasn't locked up apparently. So they're doing all this bitching, but they did nothing on the front end to prevent this kind of behavior from what amounts to their most dangerous weapons in the entire UNSC. And they just kind of let them go rogue casually with no discipline. And that's the kind of stuff that makes this a bad show. And in the long run, by which I mean like 3 months, even the people who claim to like the show will point to a couple of the action scenes and forget about everything else because it's garbage. They do this thing where we saw that John saw the flight designation for Cobalt last episode, and now it's been altered by Oni. All the Spartans tell John get fucked, where he does that thing where he's like, I don't need a friend, I need a Spartan. And they all just turn their back on him. And we all know that he's right, which is why I said this feels like it should have been some kind of Mission Impossible knockoff or some kind of futuristic sci-fi, more spy thriller story is what it feels like it might have been originally. Because this is all just so out of place. All the characters are just erratic. Yeah, not really too much to even discuss here. They're framing him as a crazy person. We, the audience, know that he's not. We go to Quan and Lara. Quan has escaped her indentured servitude because they imply that Madrigal got glassed. Lara wants to get Soren back, and Quan tells her that her whole crew sold her out. And I jokingly said last video that she was going to become the pirate queen and replace Soren, and that looks like where we're headed. And Quan, they just kind of use her again as whatever they want. She's suddenly a badass, just fucking people up every episode she's in. And this, again, is the type of thing that I said makes this feel like a different show, where you've got these pirates who betray their pirate leader, and then a person from another faction helps the leader. All the stuff with the rubble is a complete waste. If you like the idea of the rubble, go read the Cole Protocol. It's really great the way that it's used in there, the way it's created, the way that it fits into the world. Here, it's just a sideshow of a bunch of freaks. There's not really much to say other than, again, we have women doing everything good, men doing everything bad and being assholes. Feels like culture war nonsense to me. And people are being deceived right now because the writing is slightly better sometimes and the action used a shaky cam pretty well for 15 minutes. We get this thing with these two where they're trying to get Lara to get Soren with them, but the way that it's shot is so obvious that they're trying to be evil and that they're going to betray her that I actually don't understand why they don't just knock her ass out right now and they wait for shit to happen later to get her. Like, they've already betrayed her, they're pirates, they're pissed off at Soren. All of it just doesn't really make much sense. And it kind of just drags the episode out. And some more just retarded decisions. We go to see John getting a psych eval. He's already broken the chain of command. Keyes already said that he was the one who prevented him from being arrested. So, of course, they send 2 unarmed guys, no guns, no handcuffs, and John kills them. They say later on that he knocked them out, but he punches them to where they fly up in the wall, so they're clearly fucking dead. And he escapes because he goes rogue and they don't have a tracking chip on him. They don't have shit. 500 years from now, they can't track people, including top military assets that cost billions, who have already shown erratic behavior and being emotionally and mentally unstable repeatedly over the last season and a couple episodes. We get this one-off scene that doesn't come up again, which is supposed to be part of Riz's arc, where she decides what she wants to do with her life, presumably. And we find out that her friend, Lewis, that's the blind guy, is also gay. And this scene to me just seems like cultural war fucking nonsense. Obviously in the lore, the Spartans don't even really have a sexuality because they've been messed with and just loaded up with chemicals to the gills. And I could be misremembering, but I believe that the women are completely sterilized and that the men have had their sex drive almost removed. And there's like one Spartan who goes and has a family And you can see that in the Halo 5 movie that came out, which is called Halo Nightfall. And it's your little prequel to John. It's been a while since I watched it, though. That one's much worse than Forward Unto Dawn. So we get this unnecessary scene where Riz says, I started walking and had nowhere to go. Obviously, she doesn't know what to do with her life now that she has a choice. Again, just shitting all over the lore, shitting all over their agency. One of the big things in the book was that a lot of them were proud to be Spartans, and I thought it created a really interesting dynamic where you have Halsey, who kidnapped them and stole their lives from them, but she gave them great purpose, and they became the saviors of humanity. I think that's a really interesting philosophical, almost would you rather. Like, would you rather have freedom but your life be meaningless, or would you rather have your life taken from you but you end up being significant for humanity? That whole thing is really interesting, and this just shits all over it. So I'm going to move on. There's not much else to say about this scene other than people think that this show is much better written, that they've gotten rid of the political shit, which most of that bitching was about the race swap of keys and stuff, but it's just all over the place. The women are deep and philosophical. The men are fucking assholes, like we see with John. Kai finds out here from Ackerson that John knocked out his guards, even though, let's face it, they're really dead, and escaped. And Kai is like, at least let me go back to duty. I'm going stir crazy. And Ackerson's like, what if Chief doesn't come back to duty because he's unstable? This could be interesting. It's kind of just framed as Kai doesn't have a thought and Ackerson is an asshole, because you find out in just a minute that Ackerson knows that Chief is right and is labeling him as crazy anyway. So there's really not much to say about this. Again, she just kind of wants to keep being a Spartan and Ackerson's being a dick. This could have been an interesting conversation where Kai is like, I'm choosing to continue being a Spartan, and that's what she enjoys and what she wants to do. And Ackerson's like surprised because now she's not under the pellet control. And we could also have the thing where Ackerson's like, I don't want to keep Chief out of the battle, but I'm doing what I think is best. And also, we need his legacy. And he's kind of conflicted about it instead of just being evil douchebag, which is what they do. All the stuff outside of his dad being senile, they just frame him as evil douchebag, even when he's right. In just a minute here when he talks to Keys. We go back to the sludge of the rubble plot. Quan is trying to help Lara and her kid break out, and they go steal the ship. They're able to get inside the ship and try to steal it. The dude and the chick, whose names I can't remember because they're irrelevant, close the gate so they can't escape. Lara turns herself in, and Quan and the kid are still free. There's really not much to say. This entire plot is just meandering nonsense. And I actually think the acting is worse in this part too. It could just be that the writing is so much worse that the acting appears worse. I don't know, but it's just not very good. So I'm going to go over it quickly. Lara asks Quan to take care of her kid. She goes and turns herself over to the pirates. That's about it. In about 15 minutes of the episode, Quan's going to come back and save her. Again, she kills a bunch of bounty hunters off screen, so we get the implication that she's a badass without ever actually seeing it or understanding why. This scene is probably the most frustrating in the whole show because it has the most wasted potential, where Ackerson talks to Keys over the dead bodies of Cobalt team. Ackerson says to list him as MIA because the whole Spartans never die thing. And he explains to Keys that at this point, the Covenant showed up so fast that there's no way they can evacuate everybody, and it's not a battle that they can win. It's only in like one base. Even though, as far as we're aware, they're only in Sword Base or the Visegrad sector or whatever. And the reason that I say this could be interesting and isn't is because Ackerson gets frustrated because he's like, look, the essential things that we need to defend humanity, is the implication, are being evacuated right now. We don't have the resources to evacuate civilians and cause a panic, and it wouldn't really help anything. Like, there's nothing we can do. This is a lost battle. And Keys gets frustrated because obviously Ackerson knew about this when John was pulled off his duty. So he has the right to be frustrated. Ackerson is like, you can go ahead and tell your superiors, but I promise they know. Like, all that is interesting because I think both sides seem like the way that reasonable people would behave until the end where Ackerson says, look, this is costing me everything too. He's referring to his dad. Obviously, no one else is around for him. We don't know if it's affecting his military career, which is kind of all he has, on top of millions or tens of millions of people dying. As far as the logistics of the invasion of Reach, I'm kind of meh on it. Because I would think that if communications went down in one area, that you would attack and get them reestablished and at least wipe out whatever Covenant forces were there, instead of just assuming that the main Covenant invasion is coming and letting them have free reign in that area. And the reason that this conversation isn't interesting also is because Ackerson is framed as evil, and the conversation ends with Keyes literally saying, go fuck yourself, which to me is just the writer's beliefs seeping through. Like, the military is evil, you're making a calculated decision that's heartless, go fuck yourself. And obviously, if you really want to look into it, you have the fact that they cast Keyes as black and Ackerson's the white guy and all that shit. I don't know. But to me, that bleeds through from the writers being like, we believe Keyes is in the right. Even when Ackerson, I think, is probably the more correct one. Keyes is in the right that they kind of screwed over John and that they're fucking over the people of Reach. But if you're in a fight for humanity or the species, decisions like this will have to be made. That's the reality of it. And that's why this conversation could have been interesting if they hadn't framed it specifically as, this guy is the evil wrong one, this guy is correct. Even though really he's being irrational. And he's supposed to be an admiral, so he's probably sacrificed men before. Especially because in the books, Keyes lost men all the time, obviously. Even a big part of the Halo book, which is called The Flood for the first game, that's a big thing that goes on, is having to decide where the line is for sacrificing people. So they just kind of whiff on all that because they want to see Keyes tell Ackerson to go fuck himself because he's the bad guy. Really big missed opportunity here for something interesting. John goes and meets Parangoski secretly. No clue how he contacts her without being tracked. Fuck all the world building, who cares? What the conversation boils down to is she asks him why he fights, and he doesn't have an answer. And then she says, you fight because I tell you to, because you're a soldier, so be a soldier. And then he says that she's still Oni, and there's a couple people standing around that are clearly undercover agents ready to jump in. I'll be honest, it's not even clear to me what this scene achieves beyond she's still Oni, I guess, but undercover, and somehow they knew John would trust her. I don't know. And then John just leaves anyway. She tells him to go deal with his punishment and kiss ass and fight later, and he says, get fucked, pretty much. Even the way that he says you're still O&I makes it seem like her personality, but she's saying stand down and trying to give him orders. I guess the only thing this scene really accomplishes is that he's completely alone now. To me, this just feels like filler. And again, this makes it feel like more wannabe spy shit. Like, oh, the one person that he turned to that was from the agency is actually still a part of it. Dun, dun, dun. But yeah, beyond that, there's not really much there. Ackerson comes to Halsey. I'll be honest, I hate this entire scene. He is coming to tell her, we're going to build something great from the Spartans that you got. You brainwashed them and blah, blah, blah. And then she tells him that she remembers the clone that he keeps sending in was his little sister. And she told her the same thing. So this scene really does nothing except make them both seem like sadistic assholes who are also incredibly petty. And it makes them both just fucking evil. And the scene ends with Ackerson bringing Soren in to keep Halsey company, and she looks scared. This is why I say that they've wasted all the potential to just adapt stuff as it was. Because a lot of the Spartans end up with very conflicted feelings about Halsey. Like I mentioned before, they're thankful to her that they became Spartans and were given a purpose. But there's a part of them that's also jaded because they've seen suffering, they've seen so many people die, their lives were taken from them. And this just makes her a cunt. And it makes Ackerson also a twat. Really not much here that is good. If I was being charitable and saying that they actually wanted to adapt Ackerson and Halsey, they just misunderstood them. But this is so beyond incompetent as far as the lore goes that I don't think they gave a fuck. Like, Halsey is very self-righteous, very arrogant, very ends justify the means. For people who don't know, originally the Spartans were created to fight the insurrectionists, not the Covenant. The timing just worked out. Ackerson was feuding with Halsey over funding because he wanted to do different things with the military. He wanted the Spartan 3 program and viewed the Spartan 2s as loyal to her more than the UNSC because he was old school military. So him just sending in this clone over and over is fucking petty, kind of sadistic to keep creating a Flash clone of his sister that dies over and over. So the whole thing is just bad. It makes both of them completely unlikable, and it doesn't really make any sense. Like, the UNSC is in a fight for the existence of humanity right now. Halsey is playing backgammon with Flash clones and pouting, and Ackerson is using, presumably, billions of dollars to create these Flash clones to be petty and spiteful. And he's not using Halsey for her intellect. So this is just ridiculous in every facet, and I hate the scene completely. But I like her casting as Halsey if they would give her something to do that was Halsey-ish or likable or just anything beyond pure fucking evil. And she talks to Ackerson about how his sister died for spite, which again is wildly out of character. She used the Flash clones because they justified the means to the end, but she never liked it. Like, she still felt guilty, but she also enjoyed learning to the point where she was willing to make those sacrifices. I don't think she's a good person, but at least in that way, she's interesting. In this way, it makes her seem like a evil bitch. So this is just a terrible scene. And the fact that Soren shows up, I can't even tell where they're going with this. My guess is he breaks her out and protects her as some kind of brainwashed to Halsey Spartan. I don't know. We go back to Lara being interrogated by Antares about the money that Soren got from Quan on Madrigal. She says it wasn't worth much, so there wasn't even anything to split. And this whole scene is just cheesy as fuck. They all are interrogating her. We hear a chain rattling noise in the background, and the bounty hunters go one by one, and Quan has killed them all with like a pocket knife. Because again, Quan's the badass. She kills bounty hunters and pirates. Yeah. And Lara is presumably going to be both a good mom and a space pirate. And because of some exposition from this guy Antares, whose ship it is, she finds out that Soren was headed to Reach to be in prison. So I'm assuming they're headed to Reach. Beyond that, I'm just going to skip all this because it's really dog shit. Quan says that she left the kid on the transport to save Lara's life. And then she stabbed a bunch of bounty hunters with the pocket knife and killed all of them because she's awesome. All 5'1" and 95 pounds of her, who's never trained in fighting, and last season was just kind of roaming around angry. Getting to the last couple scenes here, Ackerson gives his dad a suicide pill, and he brings in a Flash clone of the sister so that he can spend his last moments with her. I guess it's kind of a nice scene, also kind of weird. Also, again, just seems like kind of a cheap way to try to pull on your heartstrings to make him likable, while he's also framed as a total asshole in every other scene. John goes and finds Perez, and this creates more world-building issues. I have no idea why there were no witnesses on Sanctuary. There's no video footage, no helmet cams. She confirms McKee was there. So she's back. She's not dead. Don't worry. And Perez, for whatever reason, was the only one looking at the signal from the Covenant. And then we hear that the Covenant are bleeding a prayer into the Reach radio system or news network, whatever you want to call it. And she knows Sangheili, apparently. So I don't know why she's the only one analyzing the sound. I don't know why she's the only one that knows Sangheili. I don't know why she's the only one that has this recording. All of this stuff is super contrived with the intent, I'm assuming for next week, of all the Spartans fighting the Covenant but not in their armor so they can maximize the actors' face time. And we can see that John was right. And again, women are the only fucking competent ones. And we've got Perez, McKee. We had Miranda Key. She kind of disappeared. Parangoski, Halsey, Kai, Riz, Quan, and Lara. Because Soren's too dumb to not be betrayed by his own pirates. And all the guys are fucking assholes. And the episode ends with this church blowing up. So we know John's not crazy. We know McKee's back. That's the end of the episode. People are praising this as the best written episode, and it is so much cope to me. Aside from all the dumping on the lore that they've done, the show makes no sense in any real capacity. It's cheesy as shit. The dialogue's cheesy. The world building is non-existent. The characters, you have no clue who they are. They're all just Kylo Ren. Whoever you need them to be for a scene to work, that's who they are. And anybody who thinks that the people who wrote the show for the second season care more than the first ones, they don't. They're a little bit better at hiding it, but we're seeing all the same shit. All the women are in charge. We got a blind, gay, fat Spartan, or former Spartan. John is an erratic mess. There's no clear command of anything in the military. We're going to get action in episode 1, 4, and 8 again, I'm assuming. Last season we got it 1, 5, and 9. So this is all just fool's gold. And really, it's more like fool's bronze. Because it's just dog shit. It's just nothing. And I think the show will be forgotten in a couple months. I think next week people are going to be like, oh my god, best episode of Halo ever. This is the Master Chief that I wanted. And none of it's going to make any fucking sense. It's going to be a bunch of shaky cam again. Just like last season. So yeah, there's really not too much to say. I think the show is fucking horrible. There's a decent scene here and there. Surrounded by so much garbage that it's irrelevant. And I guess we'll see where it goes. If you're here and you made it through the whole video, let me know what you think of the show this season. You think it's better? Worse? Same? Did you stop watching? I respond to all the comments that don't just insult me. And yeah, the show is a Halo skinwalker with Johnny Rings wearing Master Chief's helmet as a face. So like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks. See ya.